morning. Welcome back to G&C Family Farms. As we say here on the farm, what happens on the farm stays on the farm. But not today, we're going to let it all hang out. Well, it is the 1st of February. Yay! We made it. Tomorrow's Groundhog Day. I'm hoping that little sucker doesn't see his shadow, right? I mean, I think that's how it goes, right? Yeah. But to be honest with you, I don't mind. I mean, yeah, it's a burden getting all geared up just to go outside and take care of livestock and animals and other things on the farm you got to take care of. But it doesn't really bother me too much. I prefer 70 degrees, or even a nice 40-day would be nice. Maybe I could get some things done. That's been a New York minute. As you can see, we're not in the barn today. We are in the house because, yeah, I set everything up in the barn to do it, and I was like, oh, this is too cold in here. So I said, you know what? We haven't done one inside, so let's go inside and do a video. There is a video before this video. It's Thursday's video. No, it's not been uploaded yet, so don't go running over there and try and find it, because, to be honest with you, I just forgot about doing it. I know, I'm horrible. You know, sometimes because I get involved, I have so many things going on. I have my hands into every nook and cranny, not only on the farm, but off the farm as well. So I will be uploading that before I upload this video. So this video, probably you'll see it sometime by Monday, maybe sooner. But if you subscribe to the channel, that's why I tell everyone to hit that red button and make sure you hit the bell so you get updates. Let's see what else. Yesterday was a busy day. Yesterday was oil changing day. Got both of the vehicles oil changed. I took it over there to Wally Road. People knock Wally Road all the time, but you know what? You could go to a name brand oil changing place and you still might have some kind of hiccup, or, you know, when you have a human being doing it, you know. But these guys, I'll tell you what, they are thorough. I mean, I was watching them do the work. Really awesome guys, and really got to talking to them. Of course, when you have two vehicles there. First one was the wife's car was in there at 7:30, and then I came back at 11:30, and it was really busy. When I went in at 7:30, it was like bam, bam. I mean, I was in and out with no problem. Took a little longer this time around because there was other people, and they're really busy over there. But you know, I was sitting there, and I'm a people watcher. I like to hear things and see people and just, you know, their demeanor and stuff. And you meet some interesting people. It doesn't matter if it's at Wally Road or at the mall, or a store. You know, this lady didn't have any qualms about everyone hearing her conversation with, I don't know who she was talking to. I'm assuming it was her child. I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But the male on the phone was talking about his how he wants things done at the end of his life. And he said, I don't want no viewings. He said, I basically want a traditional Catholic Mass. And then he used other words, but I'll just say it nicely, PG here. Then I want everyone to just go out and get drunk. And I thought to myself, now that is a traditional Irish Catholic funeral right there. Straight to the point, and everyone wants to go party. You know, and that's, you know, honestly, that's how I want mine. I don't need a viewing. Now, if the wife wants to do a viewing, that's on her. But I want people to remember me with the smiles and the jokes and pranks that I always pull, and being just me. I want people to remember that. I would have a problem if someone, you know, staring at me while I'm sleeping, you know. So I just want to a simple Christian burial, and everyone have a celebration of life. You know, no one has to get drunk or get drinking or whatever. But if that's where it's at, then people do it. Do it. Whatever. I don't care. Um, yeah, I just want a simple thing. I don't want to be drawn out. And plus, when you probably have been to some funerals. One in the morning, and then you have one in the evening, and that's this dragged out long day for everyone. Not only for the family of the deceased, but also for the funeral home. Because they have to be there all day. And I mean, I don't know what their job is during the day, but but it just don't drag it out. Just a simple Christian burial would be great, and a celebration of life. And I want to be cremated. I don't want to be put in the ground. I'm sitting here watching Katie. She's taking the ball and throwing it at Gypsy. It's hilarious. Gypsy's like, I don't play with balls. Why are you tossing me the ball? Yeah, I don't want it all dragged out. Just a simple Christian burial, cremated, and a celebration of life. And then I haven't really decided, about where I want my ashes and all that. I got to get. I'm getting prepared. Right now, with this cold northern Arctic blast that we've been in for the last week and a half now, and we won't see any warm up. And I say warm up, but on Friday it'll be 30 degrees. Finally, we'll be out of the teens or single digits or minus. But the river is frozen over. And I've talked to a lot of people who have lived here along the river for a long time. And the river still flows underneath, right? And the river is rising as we speak. And one of the ladies who lives down the street, she's an older lady, and she told me about how the ice will come right over the bank and water, and it will flood the whole thing. So I'm getting prepared. I got to purchase me some waders because I do have regular boots, and they're good. If I'm out, pedaling around, in mud and that kind of stuff here on the farm. But if we have to deal with waist deep water in the wintertime, yeah, that's not gonna be fun. And them boots my muck boots, they only go up to barely my knee, so yeah, water just gonna pour down in there, and I'll have wet socks, and so I need to get a pair of waders. And I saw a pair of hip waders, and I was like, well, I thought about it because they were the size I need, and they're only $25 on Facebook Marketplace. And I went to message them, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, that's not going to work, because they're good if you're, not going out, in major deep water. But if you're going to be needing to go out to where your waist is at, well, then, hip waders are not going to do the job. So I was like, no, that'd be a waste of money. So I already had them on my list on Amazon. And so I got to purchase them before very long, because I keep eye on it because I have a marker out there, and within the last 2 days we've already raised 1 foot higher than. So the water is yeah. And what happens is down at the lock, all this ice will get jammed up in there, and it back flows up to us. And so before you know it, we're going to have flooding. So I think this is going to be a year that I'm hoping, I'm praying that this doesn't happen, but I'm thinking this might be the year that we actually get tastes of what that river really can do. Most of the time, the water stays back there in the back, doesn't flood the barn out. We're really good. Okay, yeah, water gets in the back part of the barn a little bit, but nothing like into the main part. So, yeah, this year might be a different case. They're actually, you've seen the front porch and videos and stuff. They built a makeshift bridge off of the step here and took it over towards the cottage and over to the neighbor's house because the water was actually flooded around the whole house here. It never got into the top part, but it did get down in the bottom of the house where the crawl space or slash basement or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. I'm hoping that we get a gradual, if we get a gradual warm up, I'm talking like, okay, today's 30 and then tomorrow gets up to maybe 32, you know, gradual warm up and starts melting some of the snow slow, we might be okay. But usually here in Ohio, one day it can be 30 and the next day it can be 50. And that's a rapid thaw. And if a rapid thaw happens, well, it's not going to go anywhere on the ground because the ground's already frozen and it's already, you know, saturated. Where's that water going to go? It's going to get into the river and it's going to flood. So, we're hoping and praying that this doesn't happen. But if it does, I have to be prepared to get things going. Get things out of the barn, get things put up that I don't want to get ruined. I got tools and stuff like that. I definitely don't want to lose my tools. So if I had to go in the barn and water's up to my waist, which marked on the barn doors, it has happened before. So yeah, I'm going to have to make sure I have something that protects me a little bit. So I got to get a pair of waders. Oh, I almost forgot. On Saturday, the 7th here, is Paisley Girl's 50th birthday. So make sure if you follow her on Facebook or you follow her on YouTube, give her a big shout out. She'll be turning 50. No longer 40. I've been kidding her all week. She's like, well, you're still older than I am. I said, no, the difference is, you're right. By age, I am older. My mentality, I'm younger than you. Because I like to pull pranks, and you know, me and Carmen, we run around the house like two little kids, and she's like, you guys are always playing around too much. She's always yelling at us and stuff. It's so funny. You guys are always playing too much games. We're like, no, we're having fun. You know. That's just the way I am. I'm a big kid. I'm a Toys R Us kid, you know. Yeah, I love having fun. All right, and yes, my birthday is on the 8th, but after you get that milestone, 50, it just goes downhill from there. And like I said, I might be older, but I still act younger than my wife does, so she's more mature, I'm not. Now, there's times I can be mature, but, you know. Alright, so let's get on to the video today at hand. One thing I want to touch on. Yeah, I was watching TikTok. I watch TikTok a lot, and there was this news reporter. I don't know what she was reporting. I don't know who she was affiliated with. And she might have been like some kind of, like I do, like YouTubing and that kind of stuff. But she was on the streets talking to these people. And I'm talking up there in Minnesota. And she had a flyer of like people who are pedophiles. And she wasn't hostile to these people, but they were hostile to her. Their chief complaint is, here's the thing. They call Trump a pedophile because he won't release the Epstein files. Now, we don't know why he won't release the Epstein files, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't care less about that. I guess there's pictures of him with Epstein. Well, that, like this reporter said, well, if you were, because she goes, are you in college? And this woman, or this young girl said, yeah, I'm in college. What do you want to know about that for? And she said, well, let me ask you something. Weeks before, you posed with a male friend of yours. And next week he goes out and rapes a girl at your college. Does that make you a rapist? That has nothing to do, that makes no sense at all. I'm like, yeah, actually it does, because you're stating that because Trump took a picture with Epstein, that made him a pedophile. That's what you just said. And then there's this other guy on there just ranting and raving his lunatic stuff that made no sense at all. And even the girl or woman, I don't know, I couldn't really see her face, but she's like, do you ever think about maybe you should go check yourself into a mental hospital? Well, that just enraged, him more, but, which, yeah, I think they should arrest these people and put them in, and, like, they're like wanting to protect the pedophiles, but, yeah, I don't get it. That's crazy. Alright, so today's inspirational title of this video is How Rebellion Happens. I know this has nothing to do with the ISIS or anything like that. If you have your King James Bible, and if you don't have a King James Bible, you probably won't be able to read along with me. But if you have your King James Bible, you should be able to find these words along with me. Turn with me to Psalms 107. Psalms chapter 107. How rebellion happens. Alright. Alright. If you're there at 107, we're going to read verse 16 all the way over to 21. So verses 16 through 21. Here we go, boys and girls. Are you ready? Are you happy? Happy for the Lord. Alright, verse 16. For he has broken the gates of brass and cut the bars of iron in sunder. Verse 17. Fools, because of their transgressions and because of their iniquity. Oh, Katie, you messed me up here. Are afflicted. Their soul abhorreth all manner of meat, and they draw near unto the gates of death. Verse 19. Then they cry unto the Lord in their trouble, and he saveth them out of their distress. Verse 20. He sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destruction. Verse 21. Oh, that men would praise the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. Followers of Christ can get caught in traps of trying to justify their poor choices. Here are 4 ways rebellion happens, boys and girls. First, we refuse to do what God commands, right? I mean, following the laws of what God says we should do. There are obvious ways to ignore God's laws, such as murder, but more often the subtle acts of disobedience, like harboring unforgiveness or ignoring others' needs, become obstacles in our path. Now, you've heard me say that, path, right? And you've heard me say this in many videos. We walk on this journey, okay? And sometimes the path to eternity is filled with rocks, and sometimes we stumble on the path, and sometimes we fall backwards on the path, and sometimes we don't give up. We have to keep going. We have to get back up, brush ourselves off, and keep going forward. Number 2, the pursue what is forbidden. The Lord has declared certain things of limits. He doesn't want to spoil our fun but he knows some actions can have devastating consequences and wants to protect us from them. So what kind of consequences are we talking about? Well, look at what's going on today. We have gender equality. We have, homosexuality. We have, we have all these other things that people are doing, but God doesn't want us to do that. He wants to save us from this. We just read about it. How then cry unto the Lord in their trouble, and he saveth them out of their distress. Okay, so we have to call upon the Lord. And there are certain things that we refuse to do what God commands. There's obvious ways to ignore God's laws, such as murder. But more often, the subtle act of disobedience, like harboring unforgiveness or ignoring others' needs, becomes obstacles in our path. We pursue what is forbidden. The Lord has declared certain things off limits. I know. I mean, that's a bummer, man. Off limits things, Well, there's certain things that we shouldn't do. Like if you should be married to a woman, or you should be married to a man. A man and a woman is his laws. Marriage is between man and woman. I'm not trying to get on a bandwagon here, but I'm just trying to tell you there is certain things that God says, wait a minute, that's off limits here, okay? That's forbidden, okay? I mean, remember Adam and Eve. If you want to talk about the most rebellious people, was our Adam and Eve. They knew the tree of life was off limits, but they got persuaded by who? The devil. And we live in that time today. I mean, look at what's going on around us today. Okay, God's showing us signs that we are in some of the last days. I mean, states that's never seen snow is getting snow today, as we speak. Storms are becoming more fierce. I just talked about the floodings that happen. Of course, flooding's always been going on around a river, but that's nothing new. But what I'm saying is, look what we had here in Ohio. Here in Zanesville, we were actually the top tier of all the different states, different cities here in Ohio that had the most snow. They said 16.5, I think it was, and I came up with 17.9 before I plowed. So. And like I was talking to an older gentleman down there, he said, well, I haven't seen snow like this since '78. He said, this is crazy how we're having crazy weather. I mean, even before snow came, you could just see the storm is more fierce and more rampant. Earthquakes being reported in places that never have earthquakes. So the signs are here, okay? The signs are coming. Because why? Because we're being disobedient to God's laws. I mean, you look at what's going on. We're protecting. Rephrase that. There are certain illnesses in our communities that believe protecting illegal immigrants, and even those who have committed horrific crimes against U.S. citizens are protected. Number 3, we pursue something God allows, but in a sinful manner, right? We have a lot of freedom in a Christian life, but believers are not meant to achieve goals through theft, deceit, or injustice. Number 4, we pursue what God allows, but in our own timing. Impatience is often why people end up in debt or bad relationships. We decide to go after something before getting clear guidance from God. When was the last time did you sit down before you made a decision to go to your boss, or made a decision in a conversation? Did you go to God first and talk to Him about it and see what He wants? Because God will answer it. But we are impatient people. Like I've said this in other videos, we live in a fast food world. You can go anywhere you live, and you need a meal, you can get it within less than 15 minutes, unless it's a busy lunch rush. You can literally go through a drive-through and get McDonald's and get Burger King or KFC. You know, everywhere has a drive-through, right? Everything's fast-paced world, and that's how we live our lives. And we don't live it for God. We need to slow down, slower roll. You've heard that saying: slow your roll down, and let God deal with the situation. Okay, we need to let God understand what we need and let God deal with it. God will take care of our needs and wants, and everything else will fall in place if we let God do it. Let's see. Whenever you are faced with decisions, ask yourself, is this the wisest thing for me to do? We just talked about that. Then stop and ask the Lord for clarity and wait until He answers. Did you hear that? Wait. I know. Oh man, I gotta wait. You know, I remember, like yesterday, for example, people were starting to complain because people were there for like 3 hours. Okay, now I don't know what was being done to their car that they were there for 3 hours. I really don't know, but I can tell you they were busy there, and the guy would come out once in a while and check on it, and he said, "I'm apologizing," and everyone was. Even though, here's the funny part, this family, it was a husband and wife and a daughter, and the daughter was a young teenager. Actually, she might have been older. She might have been in college. I couldn't really tell. But anyways, the point is, behind the guy's back, they were just, oh, this place is, I just can't believe how slow they are, blah, 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 blah. But man, as soon as he came out and was apologizing, oh, that's fine, we understand. I'm like, hypocrites. I'm like, a few minutes ago, you just were, you were talking bad about this place. You were talking about, no one makes you come here to Walmart, Now, I hear this guy that I talked to, he works there, and he's the team leader, I think, is what it said on the board. And he was talking about how a guy came there, because now Walmart, and I don't know if this is all Walmarts, but I know that our local Walmart, you have to schedule online before you can they won't even see it. But this guy came and he wanted to get, some air put in his tire. And the guy's like, well, you gotta wait. It's gonna be a long wait. Now this guy really showed patience. He wasn't upset. He didn't care. He stayed there and sat there in his car for, get this, 4 hours. For free air. Now you could go anywhere and get free air, but this guy, literally, I don't know why he wanted to sit there for 4 hours. I know I personally wouldn't just sit in a car for 4 hours waiting on free air, when I could go maybe 100 feet, maybe a block down the road, and get some free air put in my tire. But this guy showed patience, and I think it's really interesting that we need to do the same thing. And stop being impatient, and it'll work itself out. Yeah, you might have been there for 3 hours. I was there for 2 hours. I didn't care. But he, like I said, the team leader, he would come out and he would apologize. Oh, come here, you haven't been on video ever. I don't. Well, yeah, you might have. This is Katie May, everybody. Little Miss Impatient Katie May. She's Daddy's girl. Aren't you, Daddy's girl? Yeah. Yeah, you're Daddy's girl. Yeah, Daddy's little girl. Yes. Oh. But we just need to learn about being patient and let God deal with it. Let God decide on if that promotion is a thing for you, because He might have something else in plan for you that you don't see. But sometimes we get so impatient, we don't want to wait on God, right? We're all like that. And occasionally, I'm that way too, But we just got to learn how to have patience with God and stop being rebellion. Because the last thing you want to be is rebellion against God. Because it doesn't work for us, okay? Because there's consequences to our actions. You ever heard that say? Every action has a reaction. You ever heard that? Well, that's the same thing with God. if we would wait and settle our pots down, as my grandma would say, settle our pots down, and let God deal with it, then we would have no problems in our life. Well, we might still have problems, but if we let God answer the door, then He will take that promise from us. All right, that is it. Also, give you a couple key verses here that I wrote down here in my notes. When the Lord declared certain things off lemons, here are some Bible verses. If you got a pen and paper, you can write this down. Romans chapter 1, verses 28 through 32. Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 through 21. There's some things in there that can help you understand more of what certain things that are off limits. Okay, maybe we'll help you with that. Well, sooner or later the weather's going to break around here. Sooner or later we're going to have tons of stuff to do. Well, I should say, I have tons of things to do. I did do. I got to get some spray paint, and I got to get a torque wrench put on, and tighten down the lug nuts properly. And get that spray painted underneath there, and then I got other things that got to be done. I mean, I have a list it's getting long. It's like going out to the street. That's how long my list is. Because my wife's like, well, I'm like, I can't do it. The weather. She's always on. She's like, well, you could do this, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. The weather outside right now is not the kind of weather you go out and spray paint things, or the barn, it doesn't heat up properly. And so if I had a nice heated 80-degree barn, well, we wouldn't be doing a video in the house. So I would be able to do them kind of things, but the barn is not equipped for that kind of setup. But anyways, that's just part of life, and like I said, we just got to be patient. God provides, and I just hope that God is listening to my prayers, not to flood out our home, and we don't see any major flooding. But that's pretty much it for today, boys and girls. Tune in on Wednesday. There'll probably be a midweek video. I'm not 100% sure on that. It kind of just depends on what I got going on. Like I said, the weather right now is just kind of halting all the things that I got to do. But as we say around here, peace, love, and joy comes from knowing our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And you all have a very blessed week, and be safe out there. And if you're in some cold areas of this country that we're all in, stay warm, all right? Stay warm and have the joy of the Lord in your heart, all right? We'll see you on the next video.
Keep your pistols loaded, boys, and right there by your side. You never know what's coming, and it could save your life. 'Cause this world, it's getting wicked, and it's full of evil men. And they may come to kill you, but you don't know where or when. Just take me back to sanity, when men were all still men, and we hung the wicked for the lawless shit they did. But now men will dress like women. Hell, this world, it's gone insane. We've lost all of our heroes, and I still miss John Wayne. Now the wolves are in sheep's clothing, and they prey upon the weak. Just like during COVID, they're hurting them like sheep. And I read it in the Bible, so I think the end is near. 'Cause what's wrong is right, and right is wrong, truth has disappeared. Just take me back to sanity, when men were all still men, and we hung the wicked for the lawless shit they did. But now men will dress like women. Hell, this world, it's gone insane. Woke, it is the outcry from the victims they create. They alter little boys and girls, but I say mutilate. To take me back to sanity, when men were all still men, and we hung the wicked for the lawless shit they did. But now men will dress like women. Hell, this world, it's gone insane. We've lost all of our heroes, and I still miss John Wayne. We've lost all of our